Hi everybody, thank you for joining us. My name's Sarah, I'm from Carers First, and you've joined us for Supporting Carers Through University and Further Education session today, the day before Young Carers Action Day. Hopefully if you join the session, you can hear me okay, and you can see everything okay. What I would say is you'll find that you can't unmute yourself and you can't start your video. That's just to help the session run smoothly, stop any interference while we have the presentations, and to help with the recording. But you can use the chat function, so feel free to introduce yourself, put any questions or any issues in there, and I can see if I can help you. And also use the chat function throughout the session to ask any questions, and then we'll come to them at the end. We'll have a bit of time for a bit of Q&A, so put any questions in there that you'd like to put towards either Annie or Holly or myself as well, anything, and we can see what we can do as well. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to begin the session, and I'm going to introduce our two guest speakers we've got here today. So let me just unmute them both so they can introduce themselves. So we've got Holly Brown from UCAS. Holly, would you like to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. Great to be here. So I'm Holly. I'm a policy advisor at UCAS. I'm going to be talking a little bit more today about kind of the support that UCAS can offer for you if you've got caring responsibilities and you're applying to higher education.
Thanks, Holly. And we've also got Annie from the University of Greenwich. Annie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Annie. I'm the Outreach Regional Project Lead for the University of Greenwich, and I'm here to talk to you today about the support you get once you are actually in university.
Great, thank you. And later on as well, we'll also be joined by a young adult carer who's also a university student. She's called Shannon, and I'll introduce her later on. So to begin the session, we've got Holly, who's going to be doing a bit of the talk and presentation about the support while applying for university at UCAS. So I'll hand over to Holly now.
Thanks so much, Sarah. So I'll just share my screen real quick. Bear with me. Okay. Hopefully you should be able to see my presentation. Great.
Yeah, I can see it.
Lovely. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about how we can support kind of carers to apply to university and higher education today. So what are the kind of aims of this session? So I want to give you a little bit more info about the UCAS application process. So as I'll be talking about, there's a really exciting kind of new question which in the application form, which helps universities and UCAS identify those with caring responsibilities. I'll then give a bit of an overview of how we support young carers when they're applying to university, and I'll just give a little bit of a overview about the new research that we're doing on the experiences of young adult carers who are applying to higher education. So first up, the UCAS application, and thinking about these kind of new questions which I just mentioned for 2023 entry. So a little bit about UCAS. I'm sure if you're kind of at school or college, you've probably heard about us before, but in case you haven't, we're the kind of go-to place for UK higher education, apprenticeships and lifelong learning. So if you're applying to go into higher education, you're going to be doing it through UCAS, and every year we support over 100,000 applicants from all across the globe to apply to UK HE. So when you're kind of applying to higher education, we have a kind of application form, and we've got some kind of new questions which help us to identify groups if you've got sort of barriers applying to HE. So there might be kind of additional challenges or barriers in terms to accessing HE. And what we really want to make sure is that when you're kind of applying to HE and once you're there, you're really kind of thriving. And so one of the questions that we have is if you have kind of caring responsibilities. And so what we're really hoping is that this will allow kind of universities or higher education institutions to see, okay, this student has got caring responsibilities, what kind of extra support might they need? What kind of useful information can I give them during their application as well? So the feedback that we've had from young adult carers before is that this has really been helpful for them in terms of telling universities or other higher education institutions, this is a context about me that you should know. So where is this kind of on the application form? So when you're filling this out on the UCAS hub, there'll be a more about me section, and this is kind of the quickest and easiest way. And so sort of sharing with universities or colleges allows them to put the support in place and allows you to get the most out of your university experience. And so we really recommend doing this as early as possible, however small or major your caring role may seem to you. So what else are we doing to kind of support UCAS young carers? So this is the UCAS hub, which is kind of your go-to place. So once you log into UCAS and start a kind of application, you will be able to see all of the kind of your different options there. So you can explore kind of different options. If you're interested in a specific career or a specific pathway, the UCAS hub will have more information about that. Also kind of quizzes to help with decisions. If you're not quite sure what you want to do yet, there's some really interesting things that you can do on the kind of explore your future section. Also some reminders about dates and deadlines. So making sure that you've got all your bits of your application ready, a personal statement builder as well, and then some reminders about kind of events and open days. What I'd really say about here is that you don't have to apply. You can just use it for research and career support, and you can sign up any time. So if you're kind of thinking, well, I'm not quite in sort of year 12 yet, please do log on and create an account. It doesn't kind of mess up anything. It won't make any difference to us, but allow you to really engage with us a little bit earlier. So just have a go on the hub and kind of play around with it, and encourage those who are supporting you to do the same as well. So what else do we have alongside the hub? So more specifically for young carers, we've got a whole range of different resources which kind of outline different kind of routes and pathways for young adult carers. So we've got kind of like personal experiences there. So like stories about students' experiences of applying as a young adult carer to higher education. Personal statement for carers, so some sort of specific tailored advice. So again, do have a look on the kind of UCAS website. There's kind of some links here as well, which I'll send around afterwards. But if you just type in kind of carer and UCAS, that will come up with a wealth of resources, which hopefully will help you make that really great application or just kind of explore some of your options. So these are some of our kind of 4 top tips for carers that want to go to university or onto HE. And I thought I'd just kind of go over these, as I know sometimes when we're kind of making those applications, when we're thinking about it, it can be difficult to know where to start. These are all on our website too. So the first one, when you're thinking about going to university or HE, is to kind of to do your research. So it's really that universities and higher education institutions and colleges might have kind of different offers based for you based off of your having caring responsibilities. So this information is often provided on their website, so sometimes on the student carers web page, and you can contact student support services directly by email or telephone and visit them during their open days to find out about kind of the more support that they can offer. Secondly, tell the university about your circumstances. So knowing a prospective student has caring responsibilities allows the university or college to really put some great support in place and to make sure that you're really getting the most out of that uni experience. And so we really recommend doing this as early as possible, however kind of small or big your caring role may seem. So yeah, flagging that in the application form is a really good place to start. So in the more about me section, as I've mentioned before, that's kind of the quickest and easiest way. You can do it in other ways too. So your referee might be able to mention your circumstances in your kind of academic reference. So this can let the university know if your caring role has had any impact on your studies or your academic results, for example, if you've been absent. And you can also contact the university or college directly after you received your offers or confirmed your place. And if your circumstances do change during your studies or after you apply, it's a good idea to let the university know so that they can support you. Thirdly, use your personal statement to kind of highlight your strengths and skills. So the personal statement is a really great place to flag up how your kind of caring responsibilities has allowed you to develop, and any kind of like positive attributes that you've gained from caring for another person. Lastly, kind of consider the practicalities and make plans before you go. So whether you're planning to live at home or move away, it's helpful to think of some of the more kind of practical aspects. So some of these might be to consider. So finances. So as well as applying for student finance, don't forget to check when you need to apply for any carers bursaries or grants. So there are kind of specific bursaries or grants out there at different universities for carers. So set aside some time to have a look at your budgeting and think about kind of any costs for equipment or books, as well as kind of your day-to-day living costs as well. Travel plans. So if you're planning to commute to university, think kind of carefully about your travel time at different points of the day, such as during rush hour. It might be a good idea to find out if you need to park, if you're driving, or whether train or bus stops are as well. And if you're planning to move away from home, think about maybe how you might move your belongings to a new accommodation. And it's a great idea to build travel costs into your budget as well. Lastly, work placements. If you're planning to take a course that requires work placements or off-site learning, it's a really good idea to find out in advance when these are likely to take place, so you can make any necessary arrangements and update your travel plans and budget accordingly. And again, this is all kind of on our UCAS website as well. So this is just if you're supporting someone with their application. So we do have kind of specific advisor toolkits as well. So these might be kind of good links to share if you're working with a UCAS advisor at your school, or your head of sixth form, whoever's helping you with your application. And finally, just onto our kind of new research which we're doing about young adult carers. So it's just really kind of like a matter of interest. So we have been doing a kind of series of reports called Next Steps, which is where we focus on applicant groups that might face additional barriers when they're going on to HE. And so the next report that we're doing in our Next Step series is we'll focus on applicants aged 25 and under who have shared that they have caring responsibilities, and we'll be using the new questions that I talked about to kind of delve into the experiences of young adult carers, and we're really hopeful that that will be really interesting research and will help to make some really kind of concrete recommendations for the kind of wider HE sector to support young adult carers further. Fantastic. So that's all for now. Sarah, will we going to do questions at the end?
Yeah, I'm gonna let sort of us go through both presentations, hear from Shannon as well, who's the student, and then we'll have a bit of time for questions at the end. But
that's great.
So thank you so much, Holly. That was really great. If you've joined late, or just a reminder to everyone, use the chat function to add any questions, and you know, as and when they pop up, don't feel like you need to wait till the end, and I'll keep an eye on that as well. So if we get any of the same question, you know, we can make sure that's a key priority to put towards either Annie or Holly. But yeah, so that's great. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to Annie, who's going to talk about the support while at university.
Hey everyone, sorry it wasn't letting me unmute for a second. It's nice to see you all. Like Sarah said, I'm here to chat to you about the support you can get actually while you're at university. And this covers sort of all sorts of support that you can get, from well-being, sort of if we understand that going to university for the first time is a big change for everyone, no matter sort of where you come from. So well-being support sort of covers all of the support networks you can get while you're at university just to help with the transition. I'm going to chat a bit about sort of academic support you could get, because obviously, again, it's a big change going to university from school or college, wherever you've come from. So I'm just going to chat briefly about sort of the support systems in place, just so you feel a bit more comfortable with the academic side, maybe the presentation side, whatever it is. And then I'm going to very briefly chat about sort of financial support that you can get while you're at university, because I understand the cost of living being what it is, that is a really big concern for quite a few people. It's mostly sort of chatting about resources that you can then go and research after this presentation, but hopefully it should be able to help. And then right at the end, I'm just going to chat very briefly about things to consider when deciding if a university is right for you. So just to start with wellbeing and support networks. Now, keep in mind, I am from the University of Greenwich, so a lot of these examples that I'm given are quite specific to the University of Greenwich, but I guarantee that every university has a wellbeing service. And what our wellbeing teams do, they cover all sorts of things. So they very specifically give support for students that perhaps have a disability or a learning difficulty, any condition that may affect their studies. They will offer sort of short-term, long-term support, depending on what the condition is. And that could be anything. That could be if you, for example, if we have a student with anxiety, it might be that we help them sort of integrate into social networks, or maybe give them a buddy. Or it could be that they get more one-on-one support, either with helping with their coursework, maybe a bit of extra exam help, whatever it happens to be. So this sort of graph that you can see on the right is, again, everything that we have at the University of Greenwich to help our students with the transition from sort of school or college to university. But I guarantee that the vast majority of universities have a version of this. So as I've already mentioned, we offer counselling. So again, if at any point you're feeling anxious, this could be a one-off thing, or it could be a sort of a repeat visit. It's there to help you. It could be that maybe you have a disability, like I've already mentioned, and we'll get some one-on-one support for that. Sports and physical well-being, it's a very big thing here at Greenwich that you keep fit while you're studying, and you're not just staying in sort of your dorms all the time. So we're very, very big on keeping active, especially during the pandemic. We were very big on that. Psychological well-being and mental health, again, this could be anything from counselling, like I've already mentioned, or it could be that maybe, again, the transition to university is difficult and you need a bit of motivation or self-development. We offer, again, one-on-one support or group workshops to help you with that. We also have something called our START program, which basically stands for Support Through Accessibility, Retention and Transition. Not a very catchy name, so we abbreviated it to START. And again, it's basically for any students who think they might need a bit of extra support when they go to university. It could be that maybe you're at school or college and you already need a bit of extra support. What you would do, like Harley already mentioned, you would let your university know as soon as possible. What then happens is our START team and our wellbeing teams get notified, and then they basically organise it. So any support you think you need is put in place by the time you come here in September. So it's all sorted. And like Holly already mentioned, the sooner you let your university know of any support you think you might need, the better. We can get it all in place by the autumn. If, however, it could be that you're well into uni, your second or third year, and you still think you need a bit of help, that doesn't mean any of these options are closed off to you. You can apply for any help at any point during your academic journey. So this is one of our students, our current students for our human nutrition course called Zoe, who was actually a young carer while she was studying with us. And she mentioned specifically that our START program and our wellbeing team really helped with the juggling of this study, her life, her care responsibilities, her work. Basically, she had a lot going on while she was at university, and all of our teams worked together to make sure that she was staying on top of absolutely everything and was getting the best support that she could. So, yeah, talk about academic and study support. If you were to Google University of Greenwich academic support, this is the webpage that would come up. This is absolutely everything that we offer at Greenwich. And as you can see, this is just the title. There's actually quite a lot on offer, because we understand, again, and every university will have a version of this. They just might not call it the same thing, but we understand that basically when you go for school or college, going to university, you have to do lots of coursework, academic writing, maybe you have to give presentations, and maybe it could be that you've not had experience of that before. Just as an example, here at the University of Greenwich, we have a really popular sort of nursing and midwifery program. So that means a lot of our students have to write sort of medical reports, which they've never done before because they've never done a nursing course before. So we hold very regular sort of support sessions for things like that. And chances are, if you don't offer it and you just let someone in the academic skills team know that you're missing something, you really should be offering some help with this, I guarantee that they will bend over backwards to get you that support that you need while you're at university. So like I say, every university will offer a version of sort of academic skills support. If you're thinking, if you have a particular university in mind, I suggest you sort of Google it with academic skills. If you can't find it, if for whatever reason it doesn't come up, try having a look on their library web pages. Quite a lot of the time, the academic skills support comes actually from the library. So if you can't find it, it is probably there. You just need to have a little look around the website, basically. So as you can see, we offer academic skills support. That's everything I've mentioned, from sort of essay writing, report writing, presentation skills, maybe exam preparation. We also help with library skills. So we do appreciate when you go to university, chances are the libraries are absolutely massive, multiple stories, and you have no idea where to start. Maybe you have a report due on a certain topic and you don't know where to go. Our library skills sessions offer one-to-one support with a librarian. So essentially what you can do, you can actually organise to have an appointment with a librarian and tell them what the topic of your paper or whatever it happens to be is, and they will say, I know just the place, and they will guide you to where you need to be in the library and help you find your resources. And again, a very commonly used resource most universities offer. We also offer digital skills help. So this really came into play again during the pandemic when everything was online, but we offer sort of our IT toolkits. So if there's any software or applications that you're not familiar with and you're a bit nervous because you have to use them for a class, you just contact the digital skills team and they'll get you the training in that particular application. Or it could be that maybe you're having to give a presentation online, you contact the digital skills team and they can help you practice with that in case you're feeling a little bit nervous about that, which is absolutely brilliant. Skills for uni is basically everything I've just mentioned, but instead of sort of, basically you could apply for any of these resources throughout the year. But then what a lot of students do is they'll get to sort of the end of the year, realize that they need a bit of help, and then they'll apply for all of it all in one go. What our Skills for Uni does is we will have sort of days-long sessions where you can kind of drop into the workshops that are useful to you. So you can kind of pick and choose and you get it all covered in a couple of days. They're really common in sort of welcome weeks, so sort of the first couple of weeks of university when everyone's getting settled and maybe they're feeling a bit nervous, or sort of near the end of the year when it's exam times maybe. And again, people are feeling a bit nervous, they tend to pop back up again just for a bit of extra support. We also offer postgraduate skills, which is everything I've just mentioned, just at a postgraduate level, and also student life and wellbeing, which I've also already talked about, which is sort of the counselling, the staff team, everything that I've mentioned. We also offer, and again, every university should do this, everyone offers an employability team, which basically we understand that you're going to university hopefully to get a degree so you can then progress into your career, and we want to help you, again, transition as smoothly as possible. And actually here at Greenwich, you can get support from our employability team up to 2 years after you graduate. Depends on which university you apply to as to how long they offer this support. But what they will do is, so say you're applying for a job, they'll maybe proofread your cover letter or your CV, check your application forms. If you've completed your degree or you're studying your degree and you really don't know what you're going to do with it, that's absolutely fine. You just book a session with them and you'll have a one-to-one. You're really worried about. They can host sort of mock interviews or give you interview tips as you go. And they're basically throughout, they host careers fairs. So again, if you're worried about getting a job after university, don't worry, there's plenty of support in place. So just going to talk very, very briefly about financial support, only because I think we all need as much help as we can get at the moment. So the vast majority of you hopefully will know that when you apply to university, you apply for help through student finance if you're eligible. And what's really great is the government website for student finance actually has a step-by-step guide, so you can kind of tick off that you're applying for all the correct things as you go. And that's sort of applying for your tuition loans, so we're basically covering the cost of your actual course, and you're applying for your maintenance loans, so that's the money, the kind of money that you'll live on while you're there. You'll pay for maybe your rent, your resources, all of that, food, everything. But also there's plenty of extra help you can get. So as you can see on the right of the screen, there's plenty of options for people in certain situations. For example, if they have children that they need to take care of while they're studying full time. If you have an adult who depends upon you financially, as an example, and you're in full-time higher education, you can get up to £3,263 for a year for that starting academic year 2022-2023. If you're starting in 2023 until 2024, then it goes to sort of £3,354 a year. So there's plenty of support there. And not only do the government offer plenty of support, I guarantee every university offers their own version of a bursary, which you can also apply for. So this is just, I mean, these are actually the cheaper ones that we offer at Greenwich. So we have a lot of students who commute, so they apply for the commuter bursary. It's very popular. And you get up to £1,000 per academic year to cover the cost of actually travelling to your lessons. Or if you want to apply for the Greenwich bursary, it's £700 bursary paid onto an Aspire card. So again, that just covers the cost of travelling. If you're living at home, you need to travel into university. And most universities will have a version of this. And my big tip for that is there's always more financial support than people think. And I think a lot of people see that there's plenty of scholarships and bursaries that they could apply for, but they assume it's sort of really competitive and they're not going to get it. But actually, a lot of them will depend on sort of your background as to how much help you think you can get, your sort of household income. And then you have to think that if everyone's thinking, well, I'm not going to apply for this because I'm not going to get it, then that means nobody's applying for it. So it's actually not as competitive as you think. So if there's something that you think you can apply for, I do highly recommend you do that. So just to wrap up, I appreciate I covered quite a lot very quickly, but that's, hopefully you can see that's because there's so much support that you can get while you're at university that I can't actually cover it in 15 minutes because it's all there for you. But as Holly already mentioned, sort of research your course, have a think about whether this course is for you. Attending open days, webinars, any kind of mock lectures or anything for that course is a really big help. You can be entitled to more financial support than you think, always. And again, as Holly already mentioned, save me a job if you currently need support at school or college, or you think you'll need some when you're at university, please let your university know ASAP.
Fab, thank you so much, Annie. That was really great. Yeah, I mean, both Holly and Annie there, you've given such a good sort of overview of support both while applying and also while at university. So hopefully if there are any carers on the call who are considering university and are a bit worried or apprehensive about how they do that and how it's going to work with their caring role, that's made them feel a bit more comfortable and confident that there are lots in place, lots of resources, lots of information in place to help them. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to introduce a young adult carer who's actually a student, so she can talk about her real experience of being a student whilst also having a caring role. So let me just find Shannon and I'll ask her to join the call. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, Shannon.
Hello.
So hopefully everything that Holly and Annie were saying there, you've been able to experience a bit of it. But would you like to start off by introducing yourself to everyone on the call?
Yeah, I'm Shannon. I'm 18 and I'm studying psychology in early childhood at Bishop Grosseteste University in Lincoln. I am in my first year and I am also a young carer for my mum. I care for my mum. I take on many responsibilities. They vary. And I'm just going to answer some questions that I'm asked about studying at university.
That's great. Thanks so much for joining us, Shannon, and sharing sort of
That's
your
okay.
personal experience of it. So I'm going to ask Shannon some questions now around her experience at university and her caring role, but feel free as well to, if you're watching along live, to use the chat function, pop any questions to Shannon as well as
Yeah.
Annie and Holly. So first of all, I guess, let's go back to before you started university, Shannon. What did you have to consider before even applying for university?
I think one of the main things was time management, where I'd managed doing work and taking on my caring role, how I'd manage getting there and home. Another thing I had to consider was where I was going, if I was staying at home, if I was going away, how it'd work with the caring role. And another thing was making friends, because I was going to university on my own. I was the only one from my A levels that decided to go to this university. So making friends, getting along with people, knowing whether they was going to kind of be the same as me, if anyone had the same role. It was a big consideration, I think. But yeah, definitely making friends and how I'd manage doing both things, all the assignments, exams, tutorials. There's a lot to consider.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think Holly touched on some of those things as well in her
She
presentation,
did, yeah.
talking about, sort of planning your travel and that sort of thing. So those are really key things to consider.
Yeah.
So you kind of mentioned it as well about making friends, but what concerns did you have as well? I guess, what concerns did you have before starting university that perhaps, other students wouldn't have as a concern if they didn't have a caring responsibility?
It's a difficult one. I think it's more like just whether you're going to fit in, if you're going to get along in that university with the people that are also in the sessions. Obviously, I'm doing a double subject, so there's different people in each subject. We're all different. And I think it's just knowing, like going in there and knowing if you're going to get along with them and the lecturers, and if they understand your kind of situation, maybe stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, and how have you found all that? You're in your first year, like you said, so how
Yeah.
have you found your first year of university, and how have you found, any of those concerns that you have had previously? How have you
Yeah.
found those?
I think they've all like gone over my shoulder now. It's gone really well. I've made friends down there. We're all different ages, so I know that I'm a lot more grown up for my age for being 18, just because of my caring role. So having those people that are like in their 20s and stuff like that, it's different. You get to know like them, and what they do for time for themselves and stuff like that. And the lecturers, they're amazing. They all understand your situation. If you need to speak to them one-on-one, you can do. I think the other two people that have just spoken, they covered a lot of it. They kind of said the support that you do get, the one-to-ones, and it's all been really well. I think my concerns have definitely gone over my shoulder, and I'm happy.
That's great to hear. So would you say you're definitely enjoying university then?
Definitely, yeah. I'm glad I applied, because I wasn't actually going to. I went through the clearing myself, but I'm glad that I'm there now and I'm getting on really well.
That's so good to hear. I think sort of finally again, because we will have either watching along live or watching the recording of this. We'll have lots of carers who are probably thinking about applying. What would what would your advice be to any carers who are, considering university?
I think one of the main things is definitely going to speak to student advice, and the wellbeing teams that they do have, which was mentioned before. They offer all the different advice, again, on bursaries, on who you can talk to. My university, so Bishop Grot, we have like a passport that goes to all your lecturers. So they're aware of your role and what you might need to do. So like mine states that I may need to use my phone. If mum ever needs anything, just to check messages, So definitely go and speak to student advice. I think that's one of my main key points, of go speak to them, because they do help. They offer so much advice and support. They tell you about all of the bursaries. So I actually wasn't aware of the bursaries before. So going and asking about those, seeing what you can do. I only go 2 days a week, so it's quite easy to get to and from, especially because I decided to stay at home. But they can offer all different support, see if there's any buses, however else you get there, taxis, stuff like that, travel. And I think one of my biggest bits of advice is, if you are worried about going because of your caring role, just do it, apply. If you don't really like it, you can always drop out. And I know many people don't like to do that, but at least you gave it a go. One thing, I was very reluctant on making the application, hence why I went through clearing, but now I've done it, I think it's the best decision. And I think for carers, there is so much more there that they can offer, so I'd say go and try it, and do the induction days, open days, like I said before. They really helped me and eased my nerves quite a lot. So yeah,
that's really good advice, Shannon. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I think a few things you said I think will really resonate with some carers, like knowing that you know, you can let lecturers know that you need to answer your phone.
definitely,
That's going to be a massive concern, cause a lot of anxiety, I think, with carers, if they feel that they're going to
massively.
and I think just knowing that you will have that support and understanding at university. As well. So you mentioned open days and speaking to people. I think that's really key as well. And
Definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, a degree is often at least a 3-year sort of commitment, and that can be quite daunting. But maybe take it sort of a year at a time, take it a month at a time if you need to. There are actually I think there's definitely flexibility there. You can defer a year, you can break it up if something happens in your with the person you care for. So I think really good stuff there, Shannon. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to unmute Holly and Annie as well. So I'm just going to have a bit of time now to go through any questions. So if we're sort of towards the end of the session now, if you have got any questions you'd like to ask, feel free to pop them in the chat box now, because we'll go through them. And for the purpose of anyone who's not been using the chat and for the recording, I'm just going to go through a few that I know that have been sort of people have been chatting and answering them, but I'll just read them out for the purpose of, like I said, the recording and anyone who's not on the chat. So first of all, just to reiterate, this recording will be available afterwards. It'll be available on our YouTube channel, it'll be available on our website. So if you join late, or you'd like to watch it again, or you'd like to share it with someone, it will be available. So that's a key thing. Sorry if I didn't mention that at the beginning. We've also had a question about from Kim, who's asked around does the sort of application, this is during Holly's sort of presentation, does that apply to postgraduate study? And Holly, I know you've answered in the chat, but would you just be able to share a bit about what you said there?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a great question. So not all kind of postgraduate study goes through UCAS. So it's like some is done through different universities, or like the university themselves. Some of it's still through UCAS. So when you're kind of thinking about postgraduate study, it's looking at where your pathway and your kind of route of entry will be. But what I was saying was definitely in terms of the guidance, a lot of it is still the same. You still need to kind of do your research, make those considerations about how you're going to balance your caring responsibilities with this mode of study that you've chosen. Just a lot of it is still really relevant, but not all necessarily through UCAS.
Absolutely. Thank you, Holly. Another one I think for you, because we've mentioned a lot of, about financial support and bursaries. So we've had a question from Sheena, who says, does anyone know if there's a list of unis offering carer bursaries? Holly, I think you came in on that one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment, unfortunately, there's not a centralized list. It's definitely something that we're kind of conscious of and aware of, and that we're thinking about kind of putting together as part of our Fair Access programme. It doesn't exist at the moment. What I'd really recommend is, having a look at the universities that you're interested in, seeing what they offer, just having a bit of a Google online, and then also kind of talking to different people, organisations who might have more info. So, for example, if you're a member of a Young Carers group, or going on any of the kind of Carers First website, etc. So, kind of asking around, but it's definitely something that we're thinking about for the future.
Sounds like it would be very welcome, but I think you're right. So I think at the moment, I think like as well, something just to mention, reiterate what Annie said, definitely worth applying for these things if you hear of a bursary, because don't think, oh, you know, loads of people are going to be applying for that, I'm never going to get it. It's definitely worth it, and there is probably more out there than you think. So don't let sort of, I guess, the financial aspect sort of put you off initially, because, you know, definitely see what's out there first. I think as well, we've got one for Shannon, a question here for Shannon from Craig. So as a young adult carer, what have you found is or was the most helpful thing or things that university has been able to offer you so far?
I think the passport that Bishop got offer is really helpful, because you don't have to explain to all your different lecturers and all, like, obviously the people that you meet, your caring role. They kind of can just go to that passport, read about your information, and they kind of gather from there what your responsibility is, why you might not have things in on time, etc. And another thing I found really helpful is the extensions that they offer. So, like with assignments, you get extensions if you're not able to complete them in time. I also get library extensions, so instead of getting a book for a week, I kind of get it for 21 days, so that I don't have to travel to and from the uni to go and renew it or take it back. So I think they're two of the main things that have really been helpful for me in university.
That's great. Thanks, Shannon. I haven't seen any more questions come through, so I think we can sort of wrap up the session there. What I'd like to do is just thank Annie, Holly and Shannon for joining the session. I think this has been really, really valuable to carers, but also probably to those supporting carers, and that may be a parent, it may be you know, sort of professionals, it may be people in other care organisations. So you know, it's been really helpful, and the recording will be available later today as well. So feel free to check the Young Carers Action Day campaign page on our website, which you can just see on our homepage at the moment, or the Carers First YouTube channel, and it'll be available on there, so you can share that around as well. Thank you everyone as well for joining. I hope you found this useful. Any feedback, feel free to sort of send that through to Carers First as well. So if you've got any feedback or further questions, you can send that through to comms@carersfirst.org.uk, and we will be able to either consider that feedback for any future sessions or answer any questions that you may have. And I'm going to leave it there for today, everyone. So thank you, everyone. Bye.